Okay, now we're going to cover, after we've recorded the data from our real pendulum and our simulated pendulum, now we're going to zoom in, display window for optimal viewing of the read silently 1 data. So again, a control minus will get you zoomed all the way out, and then a new zoom will get you zoomed back into this. There's my read a simple passage silently. And so, now what are we doing here? We're probably highlighting something in here. Okay, record the number of words in line 1 and line 2 of each passage. Now this has nothing to do with the data on your screen. This has to do with this thing. So you go and look at that thing, and I literally have to write down, count up the number of words in, I think, lines 1 and 2. And I'm going to write that down in here, here we go, lines 2 and 3. Sorry, I said line 1 and 2, but I'm going to say lines 2 and 3. So not the first line, but the second line and the third line. That's the one you're going to be looking at. The first line can be a little screwy data-wise, so I don't know, I can't count and read and all that. So there it is, there's whatever that is, I would record that down in my data. And now what they want me to do, record the number of words, I did that. Zoom in onto the data during the first line, skip to the second line. So when they say first line here, I say skip to the second line. Because again, the first line is usually full of problems. You can't see really where we exactly started. So we're going to do lines 2 and 3. I'm just going to zoom in here. Okay, so I'm going to start with, this is my big saccade eye movement to get from the end of the first line of text and zip over to the beginning of the second line. So that's the beginning of the second line starts right about here. And I'm supposed to record, I believe, the saccades within each line. So here we go. So this, I'm going to call this one a saccade right there. There's my saccade. And I think it wants time. Yes, read silently, second line of text. Okay, so it's the time interval between saccades. Wait a minute, I might be highlighting incorrectly. Let me double check what they're telling me to do here. Yes, they want me to start, let's see, we need to zoom way in here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, because it's a little bit different. They want you to start at kind of where this levels out and go to where it right before it jumps up again. So I was doing that a little bit wrong. I'm going to try to find where it levels out right before it jumps up again. That's a tiny one. I'm going to go ahead and measure that. 0.02. How much? Yeah, 0.02. Okay, that was a tiny one. It's judgment call on these things as to whether that's even a saccade. Now here it's supposed to go from kind of where it peaks out to where it gets ready to jump up for the next one. I'm going to call that one. I'm going to record that 0.05. So I record that over here, 0.05. Okay. And it's kind of jerky going here. We do our best. I'm going to call that one. That's 0.06. And on we go. And now I think we're going to get a big dramatic one here. So we start here and we go there. That's 0.06. Not very exciting, but that's... And we're going to continue. This is really tricky to kind of see what's what here. I'm going to call that one. I can call this one maybe, or maybe I'm just going to call this whole thing 1 down to here. Okay, I would measure that. There's a 0.14. Here's a 0.12. And we're kind of running out of things to measure. Maybe that's a 0.13. And I would measure those and put those in. And now, the next thing we do, let's toggle back to this one and see what we do next. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, then we do the same thing for another line of text. So I would have to start here and start all over again trying to find my little saccades. Maybe there's one there, maybe there's one there, or maybe, depending on how you interpret things, that's one. So that's how we're going to go ahead and measure things. And then we're going to have to do the same thing for the complicated passage. So then we got to zoom out, and we got to go find our complicated passage. And I'm going to zoom way out so I can zoom in properly. And we're going to do lines 2 and 3. Kind of is arbitrary whether you choose 2 or 3 or something else. You might choose something that's kind of like this one is a little easier to measure, but then the next one is a mess. So you might try to measure ones that are easier for you to measure, but make sure you keep track. Whichever line you do, I'm going to control minus here. Whichever line you choose, you got to make sure when you're recording the number of words, let's see, that whatever line you're recording the number of words for here is the line of text that corresponds to what you're analyzing in here. So you want to be sure you're very clear about which line of text you're analyzing. That's critical.